Welcome once again to Games to Remember, where we profile some of the most historic games ever played in Highmark Stadium history. I'm Bills play-by-play man Chris Brown, and in this episode, we review one of the more forgotten playoff games played in this building, and special teams had a major role in the outcome. Here to talk about it more is Bills Wall of Famer Steve Tasker, who had a pretty pivotal play in that game, which we'll cover a bit later on, Steve. But let's begin with what you remember most about the week maybe leading up to that game, the pulse of the fan base, the anticipation, leading up to a divisional playoff game against the Houston Oilers, the first home playoff game in this stadium's history.
Well, we felt really confident about our team. We knew we were good. I mean, we were 12-4 that year, playing really well offensively, and the thing that always gets you about those games is the Oilers were pretty good too, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't play them very much, although, occasionally we would cross paths with them and had seen them before. But we knew they were really good. I had played for the Oilers in 85 and 86. Mm-hmm. And then the 87 was strike year. We had played them in 87 early in the season and beat them early, right before the strike hit. And then the next week we were on strike. So we beat them in Orchard Park here. So we were kind of familiar with them, and knew they were pretty good. Their coach, Jerry Glanville, still a good friend of mine. They were aggressive always, and you had to mind your P's and Q's, or they would nick you, because they were, aggression's always a tough thing to handle. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a tough game with those guys, and a playoff game. We hadn't been to the playoffs before, almost nobody on that team. So we felt like we were going to be okay, but we didn't know.
So what, if anything, do you remember about Coach Levy's message that week as you prepared for your first playoff game under his leadership? Because as you pointed out, at this point, it's relatively new for everybody in that room.
Yeah, I'm sure Marv had us on the same, on the same page. I'm sure this is where he started having these important mindset kind of slogans that he would come up with. I can't remember one that he used for this one, but I think Marv was brilliant at getting his team together mentally. This is how we feel. This is how we feel about that team. This is how we're going to prepare for this team. This is our mindset in getting ready. Really good at that, and so that was kind of the and then ratchet it up for a playoff game. It was, I'm sure it was a tense atmosphere during the practice that week and getting ready, because for a team like ours, that's when you feel the pressure.
Yeah. You did not face the Oilers in the 88 regular season. You mentioned 87. Mm-hmm. And that Houston team back then had a three-headed monster in the backfield. Mike Rozier, Alonzo Highsmith, Alan Pinkett, with Warren Moon at quarterback. They were second in the league in scoring. They won their wild card game at Cleveland by a single point, 24-23, beating a Browns team that had been to the last three AFC title games. How much did that get your guys' attention?
They were good. And they had some guys. They had two Hall of Fame offensive linemen, Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews. They had spent, during the early part of the 80s, a first-round draft pick every year on an offensive lineman, from Matthews, Munchak, Dean Steinkooler, Harvey Salem. I mean, they had some dudes, and they ran the ball well. Mike Rozier and Alonzo Highsmith were studs. So they also had, with Jerry Glanville, they also had that penchant for wanting to spread out and just let's throw it, let's sling it around. And Warren could sling it. Yeah. He could do it. So you had, looking back on it, I hadn't ever thought about this, you had like 8 or almost 10 Hall of Fame guys running around on that field with Bruce, Thurman, Jim, Andre, James Lofton. Nah, James wasn't there.
No.
So you had Bruce, Thurman, Jim, Andre,
Warren
Moon, Bruce Matthews, Mike Munchak, Marv Levy on the one sideline.
Yeah.
So there was some gold jackets running around in that field we didn't know about, right? So it was, you knew those guys were really, really good. Going into Cleveland and beating that team, I think, was a statement win for them.
They were known to be quite a chippy team, too, often trying to bait opponents into retaliating. I was watching the game back. A lot of extra shoves after the play, a little shove in the chest. Do you remember the discussion during the week about maybe keeping your composure, knowing they were that kind of team?
They really did thrive on being chippy. I mean, they'd walk through your huddle. They'd get up after a tackle and walk through the group of players coming over. They'd walk through your guys, just with their arms, and just bump into you. All of that kind of stuff. Their special teams were really aggressive. They were really enthusiastic. They had some guys there with some high energy, and so we knew we were going to have to bring some emotional impact to the game as well, and be ready, to be technically sound as well to do it. So we knew it was going to be that kind of game, and for the playoffs, for all we knew, that's how playoff games were supposed to be. You know.
Let's get to the game here. Oilers win the coin toss, elect to receive. Your kickoff coverage unit, which was number 1 in the league that year, is out there to start the game. Norwood kicks it to near the far sideline to about the 5, where Spencer Tillman fields it. You fight off a block and make the opening tackle of the game at the Houston 21-yard line. Was Norwood kicking it to your side on purpose, or was that usually the course?
I can't remember that. What happened when this was a little bit before I had a reputation. I was a Pro Bowler one time, the year before.
Yeah.
But teams had not started really, although the Oilers
keying on you.
Yeah. And what they did to me late in my career was, instead of trying to run away from me and avoid me, they'd run right at me. That way they'd have a couple of guys that just find me and go at me, because I was a light guy, and they would force me to take on a couple of wedge guys, 300-pounders and stuff. He'd run around them to try and get to the ball or whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that we would kick it over to that side, shorten the field for me to run down there, because we had some guys. Chris Hale was with me. We could get down there fast, particularly on a shortened field, straight down the sideline. So, getting him on the 21 was okay, but back in the day, the 21 was just an okay coverage guy. You want to get him inside the 20 if you can.
Defense sends Houston, Defense sends Houston 3 and out, and your offense stalls out after a bad third down snap. Gets past Kelly, has to fall on it at the 33-yard line. Leads to a 50-yard field goal attempt by Norwood, and it's short. Keeps the game scoreless. Were you guys expecting this to be a tightly fought contest?
Yeah, we didn't really think in terms of that. You more thought about, let's do our thing and see where it leads us. But you kind of felt like all these games are going to be single-score games, right? It's rare, although it happened to us, in later years, that you run off and leave these guys sometimes. But you always thought you're striving just to score on possessions.
Your offense has another opportunity to put the first points on the board after Thurman takes off on a 40-yard run. Leads, though, to a 4th and inches at the 3-yard line. Marv decides to go for it, and they don't get it on an incomplete pass for Pete Metzelar's. Game remains scoreless. I know Marv typically made the 4th down decisions, right?
Oh, yeah. He was the short yardage goal line coach. It was his package. He would install it in front of he was like the coordinator for the short yardage goal line stuff. He just took that off of Teddy Marchabroda's plate and started doing it himself. And he would come in and install the plays for the offense and run that drill in practice and make all those calls. And he also called the plays. So, that was a Marv Levy call, and it didn't work.
Oilers' ensuing drive only gets as far as midfield when Bruce sacks Warren Moon on a 3rd and 7. Bills defensive coordinator Walt Corey lines him up between the center and the guard inside, and then on the punt by Greg Montgomery, you guys get a block. Special teams coordinator Bruce DeHaven only had 5 players on the line of scrimmage for that play, and you only rushed 4 guys, a pair off both edges, and you and Leonard Smith came off the left side. You ran wide. Was that on purpose to give Leonard Smith more of a direct and open lane to Montgomery?
No, I think it was whichever guy came loose, you got to go for it, even if we bumped into each other at the end of it. You're always trying to get it. But if I got pushed wide, the plan is always be the scoop and score guy. And he got a hand on it, Leonard got a hand on it, knocked it. It didn't get. I think he deflected it. It went up sideways. I don't think it went backwards, so I wasn't in a position to recover it. And I don't know what happened. I can't remember the scrum to get the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always the way it was. And Bruce DeHaven was as good a special teams coach as there's ever been. So yeah, that was all articulated and meticulously
Had
planned.
you ever run that look at all that season? Was that
I couldn't tell you if we did or not. But
5 guys on the line of scrimmage, that's it, and only 4 rush.
And it probably also had to do with who we had to rush with, me and Leonard, and it also had to do with where it was on the field. We probably wouldn't do that closer to our own end.
Yeah, I think it was. I think Houston was on their own half of the field. If I
that
remember
that was probably just a function of the field position and down and distance. You know, if it was more than 5 or whatever, you got to rally to make the tackle if they snap it to the up back. So. Yeah, I'm sure all of that was in the game plan.
Your offense gets a drive start at the Houston 46. They finally cash in. Rob Riddick gets in on a second effort, 1-yard touchdown run. Bills up 7-0. Ensuing kickoff, your teammate Wayne Davis gets to Lorenzo White first, forces him to redirect, and then you swoop in and make the tackle at the 11-yard line. Do you remember doing a backflip after the tackle?
I do.
I mean, yeah, we were amped.
We were trying to get and we wanted to get the crowd amped too. Wayne Davis was a good DB and a fast guy, and he was backing up, as a corner or slot corner, and we needed athletes. Speed is always the killer on teams, so he was a good player for us, and I to this day, I see special teams guys. You got to make the guy deal with you. You can't just run by the kicker. You got to make him avoid you. And Wayne did a nice job on that, making Lorenzo have to at least sidestep and stop. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that, because every split second, that guy's not running full speed. He's losing ground to our coverage guys. So that was a big play. Yeah, I remember that.
So you're pretty amped up.
We were amped, yeah. Because we just finally scored. We'd missed a field goal. We'd blown a 4th down inside their 5, and finally scored. So let's go. So we felt like we were getting on them then, and we wanted to keep the crowd into it. And doing that kind of stupid stuff helped.
The Oilers stage a field goal drive, make it 7-3 in the second quarter. Then after a 4-and-out by your offense, Houston puts another drive together. Stalls though at the Bills' 21-yard line. Tony Zendejas lines up for a 38-yard field goal. Your guys break through. Cornelius Bennett blocks the kick and recovers the ball to keep it 7-3 Buffalo. So in the first half alone, you guys have a blocked punt and a blocked kick. Did your special
and a
teams
kickoff tackle on the 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did your special teams unit believe you could have that much of an impact as you prepared for this game?
Yeah, we knew that we'd have an edge. Sometimes they were a little over aggressive, a little undisciplined. So, you could get in some lanes and run past guys and not get blocked. And on the block kicks, in the case of the punt, they just weren't very good on that side.
Okay. Second half, and on the Bills' first possession, Jim Kelly's pass intended for Chris Burkett's picked off by Tracy Eaton at the Bills' 47-yard line. Warren Moon drives the Oilers down to a first-and-goal situation at the 10. It gets to 3rd and goal from the 2, and Moon runs an unusual option play around the right side with Mike Rozier and blind pitches it to him, and it was a horrible pitch. It hits the turf, and Rozier has to grab it. Fortunately, it bounces up to him, but he has to run it out of bounds. It's like a 12-yard loss, and the Oilers settle for a 31-yard field goal attempt, but your field goal unit provides pressure off the edge. I don't know if it spooked Tony Zendejas, but he hooked it horribly to the left, and it's still 7-3.
I think Tony was probably thinking about the first block as much as and then the pressure as well.
I mean, he looked spooked.
Yeah. I knew Tony. The first special teams play I ever did was holding for an extra point my rookie year, and he was the kicker for the Oilers, and I was his holder, and he kicked it into he got blocked back in our face, right? So, yeah, I think he's probably a little slow on his operation on the first one, and probably tried to hurry it on the second one, felt the pressure on it, and just
I mean, he
Splooshed it.
hooked it down in the corner of that. It was bad.
It's rough. It's a rough place to kick in. It's a play out. There's a lot going on there, and all the stuff that happens in these days, it happened back in the ancient times as well.
So it's not late in the third quarter before anyone. It's not until late in the third quarter that anyone scores in what was largely a defensive affair. When Thurman Thomas takes it in on an 11-yard run to put Buffalo ahead 14-3. Couple of other punts by the Oilers where your punt unit came awfully close to blocking a couple of their punts in the second half. Was there just a compromise in their protection that you remember that they never seemed to correct?
They were hell-bent on coverage. They wanted to get down and make big hits, and they wanted to get guys. And they were quick to release, and we had some guys that were really good at it, and almost got a couple. So, their philosophy was at the other end of the punt rather than protection first, and we almost made them pay for it. We did on one punt, but
I don't know what the heck you're covering if you can't get the kickoff. That seems a little backwards to me.
Yeah.
Third and fourth quarter were then bridged by a goal line stand by Houston's defense. They stuffed Rob Riddick on 4 straight carries from the 4, the 3, and then twice from the 1-yard line, forcing a turnover on downs. 2 plays later, though, Warren Moon throws an errant pass. Mark Kelso picks it off, brings it back to the Houston 18 with 14 minutes left. Up 14-3 here. Are you hoping the offense can just put the game away, knowing how much of a defensive struggle it had been?
Yeah, we were surprised by their ability to hold us out of the end zone on their short yardage. And I think Marv just said, listen, and he was in the analytics too, you're good on 50% of those. It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
They'd stopped us on 1 in the first half. Sooner or later, we were going to figure something out and get through, and we just never did. They were really too good for that. And so when we got back down there, it's like just come away with some points and make this, a 2-touchdown game rather than just a touchdown field goal game kind of thing. So, that it's disheartening when you get stuffed on those short yardage things. So that was really the part of the game where it was like, wow, we got to.
Yeah. So your offense can only manage a field goal, and it's 17-3 with 11 and a half minutes left in regulation, and the Oilers take just 2 plays to turn the ball over again, as Cornelius Bennett makes a huge play after a catch by Haywood Jeffries, chasing him down after rushing the passer to tackle him from behind 15 yards downfield, forces a fumble that's recovered by Derek Burrows. Do you feel Bennett might be one of the most underappreciated Bills from the late 80s and early 90s teams?
He was a Hall of Fame caliber player. I told you he had 2 gears extra. He was a big dude and extremely fast. He could outrun everybody, and he was just a special player. And as you can tell from the plays you're describing, he had a motor. He wanted to play well.
Well, there's nobody that big that should be running 15 yards downfield and tackling a receiver from behind.
Yeah. And you should have seen the guy in practice. I mean, he was doing stuff like that. So he was a special guy, and his presence on the defense, along with Bruce's, really made them formidable.
Yeah.
And his ability to pull off plays like that was, I mean, the guy was a monster.
Yeah. But again, the offense set up with a short field, they can't get it in the end zone. They go to take Scott Norwood out there for a 36-yard field goal attempt, and it hits the upright. No good. So it remains a 2-score game, 17-3. Again, these weren't the run-and-shoot Oilers yet, but up 2 scores, 9.5 minutes left. Did it feel safe?
No, I don't remember feeling safe, No, there was too much time left, and it felt like, because we had been 12-4 and we'd played really good football, we were a tough team, and we were struggling in that game. We were getting shut down on 4th down, and it felt like, because of their turnovers and block kick here and there, our offense was, we weren't going to be able to close the game out offensively.
Yeah,
and so it really felt like we still had to have our foot on the gas big time, because we felt like they had handled us as much as we'd handled them.
Because just like we hadn't seen the run and shoot Oilers yet, we also had not seen the no huddle Bills yet.
That's right.
This was still the early iterations
It's still
of the
two-back offense with a tight end. Yeah.
Mike Rozier on the ensuing possession caps a 9-play, 80-yard drive to make it 17-10, 5 minutes to play. And while your offense moves the ball and gets out to midfield, a holding penalty puts Jim Kelly and company behind the sticks in a 2nd and 22 situation, can overcome it as Ronnie Harmon's reception on 3rd and 19 covers just 15 yards. Buffalo punts with 2 minutes remaining. So you and your punt coverage unit are up. Do you remember any last words from special teams coordinator Bruce DeHaven before your group goes out here? Because you're giving them the ball back in a one-score game with 2 minutes left.
Right. We knew we had to cover, and we had to chomp off as much of that field as we could. We had to get them down in their end as deep as we could. It felt dangerous to give them the ball back.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of game, and our offense couldn't score points, and it felt like this was a big play, and we also knew that nobody was going to punt anymore after this. It was going to be four down football.
Now you're the gunner on the left side of the formation as John Kidd punts it away. You're fighting your way down there. Curtis Duncan, who's their punt returner and your former college teammate and former Oilers teammate too, right?
Right.
Catches it at the 14 and stumbles as you run past him with the guy that was trying to jam you.
Yeah, I got pushed past him. Yeah.
But then he gets up, but you've already closed in on him in the time it has taken him to get back to his feet. And it appears that he just forgot about you back there because you just come in and smack the ball loose from his right arm, and it's a fumble.
Yeah, I went by him, with such velocity. I'm sure he thought I was in the first row of the seats, in the back of the end zone, because I went by him hard. But I think I slid and fell down, or no, I kind of planted hard.
Yeah, you planted hard.
I planted hard to come back at him, and I realized when I turned and started closing the gap that he had forgotten about me.
Yeah, he's like looking upfield.
He wasn't aware I was still there. The noise, everything, he couldn't hear me, because that's what they do. A lot of times they can hear you coming. And I said, I'm going to try and get this out. And I came down from the top, got the tip of the ball, and ripped it out upwards instead of punching it out like they do in today's game.
Yeah, because you totally hooked his arm.
I got his hand over the top of the ball and pulled his whole arm back, and the ball, flopped out and went backwards. And then we were going forwards. The ball went backwards. And then, Ray Bentley and Butch Roll and the rest of the guys piled on.
Yeah, the ball bounced around for a while.
It did.
Ray Bentley was late to the party.
It did.
Getting down there, but the ball just squirted out to him, and he just curled up around it at the 18-yard line. What are your teammates saying to you as you come to the sideline?
Man, we were losing because we knew that was ball game. The game was over. We were going to be able to run the clock out, and it was awesome. That was when we had won a playoff game, and we were headed to the championship game, and it took the lid off the whole franchise for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
It felt like we had a chance at the whole shooting match in that moment, and all in one play. And I remember, you look up at the stands in this place. There's been a few times in the comeback game, the 51-3 game, a couple of moments in my career and even in later years, you look up in the stands and you can't even discern a human being. It's just a massive moving body part. I mean, you can't tell people from each other. They're hugging. Yeah. They're not even looking at the field. They're hugging each other. They're it's
high-fiving.
It's one of those moments, and it was deafening.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That was the fourth fumble by the Oilers in the game, and that one obviously proved fatal for Houston's playoff hopes. You were less than 2 years removed from being put on waivers by the Oilers, who really didn't want to lose you, but thought they could sneak you through waivers. Right. You're obviously claimed by the Bills. Even though you were clearly an entrenched player at this point in time with Buffalo, were there any different feelings after making that play because of that being the team that drafted you?
Well, I knew how far they had come because they were a bad football team when I was there. We were struggling to find ourselves. They had just gotten Warren Moon, and then after my rookie year, they switched head coaches to Jerry Glanville from Hugh Campbell, and Jerry was still getting his culture established. It was very difficult to establish a culture back then because there's no free agency. You couldn't bring in guys that were perfect for you and stuff. Hard to find guys. You had to create them from within, and so it took a little longer. And Jerry had made some huge strides to do that, and I knew Munchak, Matthews, and Warren Moon, even Rosie, yeah, I knew there were some guys. I knew those guys,
Yeah.
and I knew how far they had come and how much of a crusher it must have been for them. So I did have some of that, and
But you were also pretty dang happy that you were moving on.
yeah, I was pretty happy. Yeah, I was pretty happy that I had, I had played in the Pro Bowl the previous year after the '87 season in February of '88, and a couple of those guys are there, so I'd got a chance to touch base with them. But we all know what it's like to lose. I mean, you can't play this game and never lose.
Yeah.
I mean, you always get head caved in once in a while. But yeah, I felt a little bit for him, but. What are you going to do, man?
That's
I was
football.
so happy, man.
As the offense ran out the clock, what were your thoughts as you had pulled off your first home playoff victory in this stadium's history, knowing you were headed to Cincinnati for the AFC title game?
Well, that's the thing. I was like, he didn't celebrate too much because you had to go to Cincinnati and play those guys.
Yeah.
So I think what I remember is you can tell watching coaches win a game like that in a playoff run where it's just the start of the run or in the middle of the run or whatever, you're so happy. But, man, you don't even get off the field before you start thinking, okay, man, now we got another one.
The enjoyment is
now we
brief.
got to play an even better team.
Yeah.
It's very brief as I remember it. It was great. We had everybody was over at Jim's house that night, and it was awesome. But yeah, it was brief.
Yeah.
It's brief.
I want to finish with a little game that we have here at the end. It's called First Thoughts. I ask you a question. You tell me first thing that pops into your head here. All right, here we go. Question 1. With Buffalo's offense not fully formed yet, defense was rock solid, special teams on the cutting edge of scheming things to make plays, and Scott Norwood, who had a big year in '88, largely as a point producer for you guys. Which phase of the team would you say led the way in '88?
Probably the defense with Bruce and Cornelius. We got Cornelius Bennett midway through '87. He was the first player picked in the draft, or one of the top players picked by the Indianapolis Colts. Big three-way mega trade formulated by Bill Polian and the other GMs of the Rams and the Colts. We get Cornelius Bennett, and he kind of got acclimated and stuff. Then this year we had a full season, full training camp, and he was acclimated into the team and had a voice. And with him and Bruce,
Those two guys were wrecking things.
they were an absolute wrecking crew. And we had Derek Burrows and Kelso was a safety. Leonard Smith we had brought over, who was a really chippy, hard-nosed safety. We still had Fred Smerlis at the time, who was a really unselfish, hard, scrappy nose guard. We ran that 3-4 defense, and he was a good guy for that. He's a really good block absorber. So they had some dudes,
That was the right answer because they were number one in total defense.
Yeah, they were a crusher.
Question 2, did you feel the special teams unit under Bruce DeHaven all those years, front to back, in a season, ever had a better year than you did in '88 in terms of week-to-week impact?
I don't know. It's hard to say. As you in the playoff game.
I mean, that game alone, think about the impact. We
had two.
You guys killed it, man.
Yeah, we had 2 block kicks and a tackle inside the 15-yard line,
And a fumble.
A fumble
recovery at
cover.
the end of the game.
That was the kind of game. That's the kind of year it was. We did some stuff in the first Super Bowl year as well, but '88 I think was really when Marv Levy and the team and Polian and the draft classes that they were bringing in, the staff was well formed, and they had a great relationship, Bill Polian and Marv Levy, with the ownership, Ralph. He trusted them, and this team going 12-4 also ignited the fans into what we know and love today. It was that was. That year and the end of it, even going to Cincinnati and losing the way we did in the championship game, that was really, for me, the year that the Buffalo Bills became a true, franchise that was they were for real. Yeah.
Question 3, where does that forced fumble that sealed the Bills' first playoff win here in this stadium rank among your individual special teams plays in your career? Top 3, top 5?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I had a block
punt in the Super Bowl. I know.
And it was a playoff standalone. I mean, everybody was watching. But there were so many things in that game, it wasn't, and certainly that was just kind of the last one. And there's no guarantees that they were going to do anything with the ball anyway if I just made a tackle instead of forcing a fumble. So, yeah, it was a good play. I think there was a block kick against the Raiders on a Sunday Night Football. This is when Sunday Night Football was new. I blocked a punt against the Raiders here, and James Williams ran it in. J.D. ran it in for a touchdown. We came back. That was a big one. So there's been a few.
Yeah.
There's been a few.
Yeah.
But that was, the forced fumble.
That's at least
was
top
early.
5, right?
It was early. That was the early one. So that was an excellent. That was early in that was kind of maybe my first one.
I'm putting it in your top 5.
Okay.
Steve, want to thank you for spending some time with us here on Games to Remember, especially this one, because I think it was fun, not only for me, but I hope for our listeners, to learn more about a playoff win that I don't think gets the same notoriety as some of the others.
Yeah, because the run was ended the next week, but that was the first one. I was surprised that was the first home playoff game for the franchise in the stadium's history.
Yeah, and the building was open for 15 years.
There have been so many now.
Yeah.
But that first one kind of broke the ice and started a great run.
Thanks again, Steve. We
pleasure.
hope you enjoyed this edition with Steve Tasker. I'm Chris Brown. We'll catch you next time here on Games to Remember.